Hi, you're here live with 51st Chapters. Heather, my wonderful co-host, is on her way. She got trapped by the Young Women's Presidency. You can imagine how terrifying that would be. Anyway, she is really on her way. So she'll be like coming in any minute, but I didn't want to start too late. I just postponed just a tiny bit. So we're here with part 2. We're here with the Romance Writers of America. If you're here, chat us. And if you're watching later, that's fine too. We got some homework from some of you. Thank you so much. We have 2 volunteers who are going to let us show them, or show you all their pages. And so what they turned in, and I'm going to screen share. I'll just start right up with that. We'll share this. So this is what I have. This is what I was given. This was the homework. This is Jill's homework. She turned in more scenes than this, but this is the one we're going to focus on. And she labeled all of the emotional beats, which was awesome. And then what we went through and read each one to see if there were ways that we could strengthen that emotional beat or other things we could talk about regarding the emotional beats. So if you don't have it already, hopefully, I might bring this over here. Yeah, there we go. So you can see it. Okay, so right here, right here, you should have this link. Don't type that in, just go to my website because it's already in my website. But that link should be there for you, and then you should be able to see this at the same time that you're watching this. So, but basically, emotional beats. So what we did is we actually read the pages first. We read the homework, and then we tried to see what was still maybe. You guys did a really good job. Jill and Brookie both did. They definitely had the beats in there, and we'll go over what they did and how they're using the beats correctly and in the correct order. But we still managed to come up with some ways that we could maybe push that writing to be even a little stronger. And I'm sorry, I feel like I don't talk a lot, or I don't talk loud enough maybe, or I talk too fast when Heather's not here, so I do apologize if it's a little bit different. But here are the things that we thought of after reading it. One of them, we're just going to go with like the most simple to probably the most important, and then a little side note at the end. But number 1, trust your reader. So we're just going to go ahead. Okay, so in trusting your reader, a lot of times what we're doing is we're telling them something and showing them. So if you feel like you have to, so remember how we have all the beats. We have like the feeling, the visceral reaction, we have the thought, we have the decision, we have the action. If you have one of those that's showing, then you don't need, whatever one is the most telling. I'm going to see if we have any. We don't have any chats. I don't think anyone's watching live right now. Oh, one is watching. Hey! Oh, it's probably me. But if you're watching live, then chat us. Okay. But yeah, I'm sure that's me. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. We're just gonna do a lot of reading and a lot of just digging in. Okay, because the devil's in the details, definitely. So she tells us this is early in the book. The main character is named Amy. She's talking to a guy named Ben, and they're at the start of quadrant A. So we're just going to start with this first paragraph. I think I hear it, Heather. After Amy bathed Callie and put her to bed, she longed to climb into bed herself. Despite the lingering exhaustion. Oh wait, did I screen share? No, I did not. It's a good thing that you're here. Hello. That's a screen share anyway. Wait. They have to see you. Hi. Heather said she'd been really on one tonight. Are you being mean? No, I'll be nice to other people. I almost made this promise, like, if she's really mean, then, then I'll do a special now. We'll know that she had a bad day. I'm just kidding. Okay, we're going to just change here. So basically, I just told him that there's the handout. And we're going to go over trusting your reader. Okay, it kind of shows up right away. So we'll kind of just go in order of what we see on the page, and then put it is on your handout in a logical order on your handout. I can't talk without you here. I know, but she's going to do most of the talking tonight. I know. It's awesome. Because girls camp. Yes, girls camp. Okay, so we're right here. I'm going to make this bigger than 100% so that it's huge and awesome. After Amy bathes Callie, Amy's the main character, Callie's the 2-year-old girl. I assume she's 2. It's hard because I just we didn't have all the pages, but whatever. She climbed into bed herself. Despite the lingering exhaustion from driving all that night, she returned to the family room. If Ben was still here, she wanted to thank him for his help today. I'm going to just peruse this, blah, blah, blah. She's going, this is where it really starts for us. She entered the family room to find Ben sitting in the same chair as before. The expression on his face had changed. He looked angry. He masked his expression when she entered the room. He rose to his feet. As soon as Amy entered the room, I didn't go over that part. Why enable editing? Sorry. Apparently, I need to enable editing. I did most of this on my other computer. So that's just a little tiny repeat. Don't even stress about that, but we'll just get rid of that. So we don't need it to do in twice. So he rose to his feet. Could I have a word with you outside? Not waiting for a response, he walked out of the room. So here's what we have. So all of that's motivation. Right. Now, Amy followed him out the front porch. We don't have we don't get a beat. We just have the action first. And we have, judging by Ben's rigid posture, he was upset. Had she said or done something to upset him? What would we do first here if we were going to put it in order? Heather?
Right. Thoughts. No, before the action, we put the thought analysis.
Right. Now, I will forgive it. Sometimes when you're kind of in automatic response mode, sometimes you just, somebody's inviting you outside, you just start going outside and then you're thinking like, well,
and I actually don't have a problem with that at all.
I don't have a problem with it. I left it as is.
Because you're going to analyze as you go in that sort of circumstance.
Exactly. And it kind of shows that she's kind of out of her comfort zone. So you're good there.
Right. And I think if she went straight to that rational thought right there, that would be a weird beat to have before her following him.
I agree.
Maybe before her following is more like she has some sort of reaction to his anger.
Right.
Or something.
So I'm going to have you, judging by Ben's rigid posture, he was upset. Had she said or done something to upset him? That's the thought. To me, it's a little weak.
I agree.
And we're going to go into...
It's also missing the emotion that I think she would feel.
Right. Okay, so when we talk about putting in the thoughts, I'm going to suggest that you put in exactly verbatim what is going on in her head. And so I thought of some examples. So you could say, I actually would, the way that I did it, oh shoot. Oh wait, no, okay, good. This is the original. What I would do is I would ditch that because you're telling the reader that he's upset when you've kind of already told him that
and it sounds very impersonal.
Right, so trust your reader. You've already got the expression and he's masking the expression. He's upset, whatever. We don't need to keep going with that. So I'm going to try to follow this, make sure I get everything. Clarity wasn't an issue in this situation, but strengthening thoughts is our third point on our handout. And there are some specific ways to strengthen thoughts. So I'm going to kind of go over the handout a little bit so that we don't just jump around completely. Number one, use exactly the words that pass through your character's minds when you're
in their voice.
In their voice, not yours, unless, you know. Show some personality. Show. You can show. Show some personality if you were or depth of character. You don't always have to do that. But
honestly, my first gut reaction at that moment was when he says, "Can I have a word with you outside?" and suddenly he's angry and she doesn't know. My first thought was, "Well, what the heck?"
Right.
Follows him onto the porch. Like something like.
So the only thing I thought of was like, "Oh, here we go again."
Right.
And it's funny because we don't know the story, so we're like we're ad-libbing.
But yeah, if you said, "Here we go again," that would imply that there was all these cycles.
And it gives you her emotion. So it gives you a thought and an emotion. Right. Or now things had to be awkward and private. So it would be like Amy followed him out of the room. Now things had to be awkward and private. You know what I mean?
Right.
Instead of had she done
voice,
something
that feels like
a textbook. And then I'm going to show you. I actually did. I'm going to make this super huge too, so that we can. We're going to. I wrote it. This is kind of taking some serious liberty. Oh yeah, we need a screenshot. Thank you.
Until you screenshot.
Okay. So right here, can I have a word with you outside? This is what I wrote for it. And you can totally ignore this, Jill, and you can write your own stuff, but this seems stronger to me. Obviously, it might not fit your plot, though. Amy followed him out to the front porch. It was the tantrum Callie had, wanting Amy to stop the wind from blowing. That's why Ben wanted to talk. The wind stirring now couldn't be quelled any more than the park breeze could have been any more now than the park breeze could have been then. And again, you'll have to be like, what? This girl she doesn't even know how to write. This is just rough draft. She was being invited to leave. Ben and his family didn't need to deal with a toddler. Why should they? So here we get a ton of backstory. We get this reference to Callie maybe was a tough toddler. We get a fear that she's going to be asked to leave. I try to think if I was in a situation, if I were, and I'm going to not screen share all the time because it just gets really old. But if I were like living in this house and I was relying on the charity of someone that I didn't know, right, I would be terrified about my kids' behavior. I would be, but booted specifically because of my kids. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So again, that might not be the story, but just tell us exactly what she's thinking. And it gives us so much more of a sense of her emotional state than...
and she doesn't say, like, she's shivering, she's shaking, she's crying. Yes. Any of that. I don't need that.
We don't need that.
But just to get... That is really... Nikki, that was a genius thing to write down. Say what is exactly going through their mind.
There you go. There you go. I know, right?
And sometimes you just have to pretend you're not.
And also, when you use their exact words, you will automatically be showing some personality, some humor, some depth of character. You can't help it.
Right. Are you feeling sarcastic? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling vulnerable?
And then the next one, and we don't have to talk about this a ton, Jill, because you have really good story progression on this, so I'm not going to get after you about that. But our next one on our little paper here is using the thoughts or using the beats to make the story progress. And so I'm going to just spend like a tiny bit of time on this. Stories, every scene needs to progress the story along or show how the goal is being hindered. Something has to happen. So like if we...
Or it's not a scene. Nikki used to say, that's not a scene. I'm like, it is. Things happen. People are together. It's a scene. She's like,
no, it's not. Let's say that you're being chased by a murderer. That's a good scene. Right. You're going to run away from the murderer. Okay, and then at the end of the scene, there's still a murderer, and you're still running away from the murderer. That's not actually a scene. So like for suspense, each scene needs to change the stakes. This is actually true. Kind of all stories have some suspense in it. Hopefully your story has some suspense in it.
Your hair's purple. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, did you not know that?
No,
it's my hair's purple.
I like it.
It's a hair extension.
It
won't be here forever.
Okay, go on.
Cute. Look, you can be here for a while. So I'll show you. If I want to go like all crazy extreme, I can be like totally purple. Right
I love it. I love it. Okay. I should write some emotional beats about how I feel about your hair right now.
What we should do is get a fan. That's what we should do, and have a fan blow.
We have a fan. It's Jill. Hi, Jill. No, just
kidding. We need. Okay. Next time I'm gonna have a fan for my hair.
Okay.
I'm
sorry.
So hopefully I went over suspense.
Pause. You were talking about something very important. You were talking about how. Yes. If there's still the murder or whatever. But
okay, so it's written on the paper, so you can just read it. But basically, like, your story, the suspense part of your story, and a romance definitely has a suspense. How are they going to get together? How are they going to blah, 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 blah. Each scene needs to change the stakes. Usually it's going to up the stakes, but it can lower the stakes. But it needs to change it, you know what I mean, depending on, and you don't have to up the stakes every time. Sometimes you can give the characters a break, that's fine. But generally speaking, we up the stakes. And then also, and this is something that's really important to think about for suspense. You need to change or make tighter or make more pressing space, time, and options. So think about that. Literally, like if you're being chased by a murderer at this point, or by a monster, at first, you can run anywhere, but maybe at the end of the scene, you've run up a tree, and now
you're confined.
You're confined space-wise. The other example I had is before the monster was hungry, so that's super scary. But now you're dehydrated, and if you don't get to water within the next hour or two, you're going to die anyway. So now you're restrained time-wise. And then you can be restrained in terms of your options. Like first you were trying to get away from the monster, but now that you know you're a specific target, you can only kill the monster to get away. Maybe, whatever. I'm just saying this.
Yeah.
But so that's what you're going to want to think of with your, and it doesn't translate exactly with a romance, but so Amy here, going back to this, Amy has a place to stay in Ben. But we need to have her be thinking in terms of
that she might lose her space.
She might use her space. She might run out of time, or what are her options? So she needs to be constantly assessing those. And something about the scene needs to change. And in this case, I'm kind of giving you a little bit ahead. But in this case, the scene is that she's actually safer at the end. In other words, it's more established because that's kind of the premise, from the romance that they're going to be together with, whatever. And that's fine. That's fine. But it's a scene because it changes it. She goes from being I'm not sure about how secure I am in this option in terms of space and time and an option. And then we go from being, okay, I'm pretty secure now. So it's and then obviously something else is going to come up in the book. But that's fine to have it be to have it be a change for the good. But it is a change. So I think, Jill, you get...
Well, and then here's what I would say. So then maybe it's... Anyway, but when she switches into the point where she's like, I'm safe here, then she has to be like, but my heart might not be safe.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I totally added that line.
No, literally, like, what if I actually love it too much and then I have to leave? What if I actually...
You kind of want to start hinting at what the next tension is going to be. As soon as you're wrapping up this tension, if she's going to have a place to stay and that was the primary driver of tension, you kind of have to introduce the tension real fast. Like, in the scene would be preferable, or...
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry I'm yawning. I really think you're so interested in that scene.
I think I'm super interesting too. That's why I do webinars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, romance. So, in a romance, don't forget, and both of you guys kind of forgot this. No offense, but where is your romantic tension? People, I needed way more lips and skin. I needed
it doesn't have to be lips and skin. No, it doesn't have to be that at all. It doesn't have to be a sensual tension.
Sure. But I wanted more of it. I want the tension that's pulling them together.
Yeah.
And then the tension that's keeping
the
them
moment
apart.
when he says that thing that makes her feel safe.
Right.
The moment when
then she knows that he's hurting, so it's like she
Right.
feels drawn to him, but then he's hurting. But then but then whatever
right.
it is, like
but he
you
has
just
a
feel
mad
it.
wife upstairs or something.
I hate it when that happens. So anyway.
Or when he's a super uptight creature. That's also bad. We're sticking with Jane Eyre. Go on.
Oh gosh. I was like, I skipped that part.
I know, that's the worst part.
Nobody reads.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, so I did want a little bit more romantic tension. I thought that Brookie, I thought you had it at the beginning, but I thought you lost it at the end. So we're gonna talk about that, and then we're gonna talk more. Yeah, we'll just bring these up as we go. Let's go on to our next. So now this is just gonna be example after example after example. We're gonna go right to here. So she has just had her thoughts. She has just had her thought about why she's so scared that he might invite her to leave, okay? Closing the front door behind them, he stepped away from her and raked both hands through his hair, making his waves unruly. I thought this was great. I thought you gave us a great visual. I thought it was romantic. It's
just
great.
noticing the detail.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be like.
And it gives us this emotion without like hitting us over the head. I thought
it's great.
I thought it was great. A cricket chirped nearby, and Amy inhaled the scent of the colorful roses surrounding the porch, but couldn't appreciate the aroma.
I like that too.
I do too. I thought, and this is my last point on the handout. Just a side note, maybe this Amy drives literally every single thing in this scene, and so you might try something like, and you don't always have to do this, but a cricket chirped nearby, complimenting the scent of the colorful roses surrounding the porch. Amy couldn't appreciate the aroma. Just so that instead of it being Amy noticed something, you just have the something. Especially if Amy is the first verb that we get in every sentence, then this is a good way to change that up. Not essential, but I wanted to mention it. So you can just ignore that. Despite warming there, she wrapped her arms around herself and studied then standing in the outer edge of the porch light. I thought that was great. We get her, her
tempting herself a little bit.
Right. Why had Ben called her out here? I felt like was redundant. I personally would X that out.
Especially when it's followed by her statement.
I just felt like you're not trusting your reader at this point. You have these wonderful beats. You have her wrapping her arms around herself. We know that she's worried, right? So, okay, we're going to go on to this one. Is something wrong? Amy asked when he didn't say anything. We don't necessarily need when he didn't say anything, although you could keep it, but I'm gonna X it out. Again, sometimes for pacing, we kind of just need to get
right.
So
and that's an order thing for me. he didn't say anything, and she asked something.
Yeah.
I don't like having to flip it in my head.
It's true. It's true. It's true that your
motivation is that the silence is dragging on, and
that's
that she responds.
When he didn't say anything, Amy asked us something wrong, but really, it's
you don't need it.
We don't even need it. Okay, what would she do if she had upset him or his family, and they were no longer willing to let her stay here? Did they find it too hard to have Calorie around? Again, I think that's too blunt. I don't know that that's the way that she would actually say it. I brainstormed a way that she could say it. This might have nothing, this might be totally wrong because we don't know the plot exactly. Is something wrong? Amy flushed. If he dropped her off somewhere, she wouldn't have her car to sleep in. A hotel lobby, maybe, with Callie? Visions of a lobby receptionist calling the police, of homeless shelters dirty and crying, of government paperwork to prove she was a fit mom ran circles in her head. And those stories, children was taken away to foster care and the mom left powerless. See how the exact thought, I don't know, in my opinion,
she's worried about what will happen, but you're showing it to me.
Right.
In a way that might make me feel it or see it.
And you're giving us the stakes at the same time. Yep. So instead of just saying, I'm worried, you're saying, like, these are totally different stakes than somebody who's like, I'm worried that this is going to take a few hours to sort out and I'm going to be late to my grandmother's party, right, or whatever. And it's fine. Whatever the stakes are, it's fine. But, and you might say, I'm going to stop screen sharing. This is one thing about stakes. Yeah. You establish them in the first chapter and then you never worry about them again, right?
No.
No.
They have to get bigger.
They have to get bigger all the time, and they have to get bigger because of the authentic thoughts. Like, if your husband suddenly died, do you really understand what that means to you?
No.
Not right away.
Right away, you'd have the first thought.
Right.
The very first thing.
And you'd cry.
Right.
But day in and day out, what happens?
Right. When the weeds are growing in the backyard, unchecked because there's no one to help you weed them.
Right. Day in and day out, you live the stakes. Right. You don't really understand the stakes of your husband dying until you have passed through it. And that's true for your characters in your story too. And you're going to be upping the stakes too all the time. Yep. So dun dun dun. But anyway, I thought, you don't have to change it my way, but it's just the thoughts again. These thoughts are a little vague, is what I'll say. So the thoughts are vague, so we're gonna.
And they just don't bring that voice.
They
and that
don't.
Connection
right.
To the character.
It's almost.
So it doesn't actually. It makes you feel like you're reading a story rather than experiencing something.
It's almost like it's not a beat at all.
Right.
It's almost like you could just say the birds chirp, da 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 da. She wraps her arms, says something wrong. Amy asks, like, "Oh, you Polly, what?" She asks, surprise. Right. You know, this is not what she expected. We don't need that either. I felt like it was just repeating what we already knew. So again, this isn't really adding much. If you are upping the stakes during her thoughts, or if she made a decision during her thoughts, or if she had a realization during her thoughts, but there's got to be something, backstory during her thoughts, something. Okay, not something that's just inherent to the conversation. Otherwise, the conversation establishes it just fine. For what, she asked, surprise. For my father's and my cousin's actions. And Amy's look of confusion, he continued, I'm sure you've heard by now my wife was killed in a car accident almost a year ago. Yes, Charity told me you lost your wife and daughter in a car accident. I'm so sorry for your loss, Ben. I can't imagine how difficult that would have been to you. To me, this sounded forced.
It did, and also I think part of the reason for that is that's not a sentence that he just gave that requires no beat from her before she just responds with a sentence. So we need to have something in between there because he's talking about this pain. Plus, that's your perfect moment for your romantic tension to apart. He's probably broken. He can't be just a little something.
So here I've been crossing and adding.
You know what it is, Nikki? It's like how you always thought my characters were jerks. Because they didn't explain beforehand.
Right.
Here, I think she's totally phony in actually caring
about him.
She seems super phony. She seems phony because she did not just tell us in her head that she felt it.
Right.
Instead, it's like, oh, that is very sad for you. And let's see, we're not on screen. So she can't see that I rubbed your arm.
Here, we'll get off because you're going to get annoyed. Yeah. No, but you're right, though. You're right, though, because we only see her say da-da-da-da-da, and she says what a Hallmark card would say.
Yes, like, I am so sorry for your loss.
I am so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine how difficult that would be.
If you give me a beat and then she can't think what to say, that is way more powerful.
And all of her thoughts, we've been told her thoughts. Now, they've been kind of dry and not super informative, but they've always been about herself. And here we have this major reveal, and we don't even get a thought about him.
Right, and
That's
she's going to
kinda
have
cold.
to, if she actually cares, she has to shift to caring about
Absolutely.
him and not
we
her.
know that she cares. Jill,
Right.
we know she cares. We
Right.
believe you that she cares. But, so I tried, and again, you can just totally, anyway. Amy's eyes dropped. Of course, other people had real problems too. I did.
Do you want
I'm
to screen share
sorry.
this part? Sorry.
Yes. I'm so sorry. I will screen share. It's a good thing Heather's here. Okay. So he says, I'm sure you heard by now my wife was killed in a car accident almost a year ago. Amy's eyes dropped. Of course, other people had real problems too. I did. I'm so sorry. She swallowed and faced him properly. No one wanted to be alone with pain, no matter what, no matter that he was a stranger. Or that he was totally hot or kind of crotchety. Choose your poison.
Hot and crotchety.
I can't imagine losing a spouse and a child. Okay, so again, this gives us, and I was trying to show how you can like really give us some personality with the thoughts. That might not be her personality. Don't use those words if you, I mean, you can use them all if you want to. But
just give me what she's really feeling, the authentic thing, rather than telling a story, which is how it feels.
Right. And I do kind of want some of her sense of not just how she feels to him, but sort of how does she react generally to sad things?
To people.
You know what I mean? Like,
is she a person who can handle this?
Right. Or is she a person, does she kind of get, you know, like, because the way that you had it, Jill, was that she knew exactly what to say. She says what is supposed to be said, which makes her seem kind of fake.
But then he doesn't react as though she's fake, so then it doesn't ring true.
Right. So I kind of kept her like, okay, she knows what to say, but she's savvy enough that she even knows why to say it, kind of a thing. So anyway, that's kind of the way I played it, but whatever. You can play it how you want to. And then let's go on.
You know what's so funny, though? Is that we can only write savvy characters who are as savvy as we are.
I know, right? Oh, look, that's so awesome. Look at that.
Oh, that was cool.
Sorry.
We missed you.
Stop sharing.
Retreated into our screen.
Sharing. Here we go. So I'm going to just read here. He's talking. This is the guy. This is Ben talking. He's talking about his wife and his daughter. I lost them both, but my wife is the only one who died that night. I don't understand. His words confused her. I'm Xing that.
Yep.
Definitely. What happened to your daughter? She was taken from the car, kidnapped. His voice choked with emotion. Again, I know I'm just picking on you here, but his voice choked with emotion is just telling us exactly what the beat is, and you're losing your opportunity to show us that he is emotional. I feel like this is a little bit.
It's cliche.
Yeah. It's just weak. It's weaker than what it could be. So again, you could totally keep it. It's okay if some of them are weak.
Yeah.
And
don't try and make everything a metaphor.
And you'll notice I'm putting in like so much into these beats because I'm trying to give you an example of everything I can think of, right? And sometimes for pacing, you just want to get us through it. So don't be as heavy-handed as I'm being. You know what I mean? This probably works fine. This would especially work fine if the rest of it had been really rich with background or really rich with voice or something like that. But this is another case where it's like we're wanting to dive in and learn about him, and we weren't able to. So I did. His voice choked with emotion.
She left it.
I left it. Oh, I did the next one.
See,
that's why I have to look at my notes. So obviously it's not like it's a problem, but it's an opportunity if you wanted to make it into one.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, Amy gasped. How horrible for you. Amy blinked away the tears that filled her eyes. Emotion. She didn't want her emotions to make him uncomfortable. Now she realized why the picture on the mantle looked familiar. She had seen it in the news and plastered everywhere after the baby's disappearance last year. The missing baby had been close to the same age as Callie. She remembered thinking at the time how difficult it would have been to have Callie taken from her. I think that is too much telling right there. She remembered thinking at the time how difficult it would have been.
Right, because when you say same age as Callie, we know.
Right.
We feel that.
Right. Amy blinked away tears. I don't buy it.
Yeah, and the oh no, she gasped, how horrible for you feels phony again.
First, she has exactly what to say with zero emotion. Now, she's crying. I thought that was too much. So,
sometimes, okay, when he says she's kidnapped, if that's the first reveal in the book that his daughter was kidnapped, which I'm assuming it is, that's the moment when you have to let me stop.
Yeah.
Because if you just say to me, oh yeah, my wife died, yeah, my daughter's kidnapped, you can freeze for me for a minute.
Right.
You can have her just not know how to process it for a second, because I think that's what the human thing to do. If you just immediately are like, oh no, how horrible, and you cry.
I'm going to show that. So what I'm going to do is show here. So you have two reveals kind of. Well, I mean, I think this was already known to the reader that Charity told me, or so this was, but still you want a tiny bit of a beat here. And so I added a little bit of a beat here, but here is our bigger beat.
Yeah.
And you want this to definitely be bigger than this.
Right, and she's so quickly to her thought and analysis that she seems robotic.
Right. So here is the beat, the first beat as I did it. This is how long it took me. And this is how long it took me to do the next one. Because it's huge. The guy's daughter
this is so perfect. I'm reading what Nikki's written here. So, oh no, Amy gasped, kidnapped during an accident, like the mom was dead in the front seat and the stranger didn't call for help but made off with the daughter. Okay, so she's like having this moment where she's making it up in her head, right?
She's analyzing it like thought by thought in her head.
Right, and that lets us settle into it too.
Right.
And go, what?
And then we get a little mystery here. Look, see, because I'm a mystery writer. A familiar story, more than a year old now. So we're like, whoa, what the heck? The main character knows that this story is familiar and knows how old it was ago, which we don't know if it's a year ago, but we think it is, something like that. Amy forced her mouth shut. I didn't realize that was you. Her breathing didn't slow to a regular pace, though she tried to mask it. She didn't want her emotions to make him uncomfortable. That's why the picture on the mantle looked familiar. She had seen it in the news and plastered everywhere after the baby's disappearance last year. The missing baby had been close to the same age as Callie, and again, instead of stating her emotions, I would show it. For months afterwards, Amy hadn't been able to sleep some nights, obsessed with rechecking her locks. Babies could be taken, just disappeared. It had felt so real. It was real. Ben was the father who lost his. So all of a sudden, we get her really absorbing this. And again, you don't have to do it
and
that
this idea,
way.
There's a romantic tension thing there now, too, because she felt connected to him over a year ago when she didn't even know him and thought about the impact of his life, how that would be, right?
That's so like Sleepless in Seattle.
It is.
Oh, I love it. No, that's really good. I didn't even think about that. That's really good. So, and what do we... I want to make sure that I'm going over all my things. I think we do need more romantic tension and we haven't gone over it right now because we can't have romantic tension when it's confessing that his daughter was kidnapped. So, but we're going to have to get to it eventually, though.
We can't have romantic tension, but we can have interpersonal tension that's going to build to that. And I think
that's true. We can
if she were to reach out, like just like if someone says that to you, would you like touch them? Do you know what I mean? Would you?
Not if they were all distant-y like he was.
Yeah, maybe not.
Also not if I was at their house. And
but you might think you wanted to, right? You might think you wanted to. And even that thought of, but she's not gonna.
I totally. And you don't have to push away. Right. You don't have to cram all that. You have the whole scene and you're doing it. So you don't have to cram every single thing that you can think of into each individual beat. But you've got some good beats here with some good information. And then I just want to make sure I was covering everything. Yeah. We're covering everything. Okay. I just have to check my notes, or then I skip stuff, or I tell you I have new stuff and I don't have it.
That's the worst.
Here it was. The past year has been a living hell, the pain evident in his voice. Okay, so this is where I was like, okay, we could do a little more with that. There are ways to make that a little cooler. So I did, the past year has been a living hell. An odd grimace tugged his mouth to the side, not a tremble, but a reflex against trembling, against emotion. If Amy had seen the slant in his eyes in another situation, she would have thought he was dead to pain, dead to everything, dead even to comfort. A soft touch at his temple, maybe a thumb to smooth out the corner of his lips, to ease his pain. With tousled curls falling into his forehead, he pulled off the brooding look well, but this was no invitation. This was a man who was drowning in isolation. She had no right to even think such things. Ow, ow! Right, so what am I doing?
Got the romantic tension.
We've got the
push and the pull.
Yeah, we've got the push and the pull right there. Also, you kind of had it, I don't know, you mentioned curls earlier. I really like curls. I have like a thing for curls, so I think if the guy has curls, you should be mentioning them very frequently.
You had better. Or dimples.
Right. I like dimples too. Broad shoulders, all the real normal stuff.
Or like translucent skin that shows the veins. That would be hot.
Is that
joking. It's a Twilight.
Oh, gross. I'm sorry. If you love Twilight, it's okay. Okay. We just can't like it that much.
I just
you liked it.
Like thinking of translucent skin as hot, but whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All that did, not necessary, but all it did was add romantic tension, and it added a little bit of visual, instead of just saying like.
I will say that I felt like it went just a tiny bit farther.
Too much?
The only reason is because it felt slightly like she was starting to get a little sensually involved there, just a little much.
Too much.
And the only reason, just because I don't want
you don't want it to be too fast.
Well, I don't want her to seem like she's not actually seeing his pain, and she's kind of
right,
like, oh, he's so hot. I'm sad that he lost his baby. I want to make a move, you know. So be careful. There might I might pull the tussled curls or something.
Maybe pull a little bit.
Something.
And you might not even want to say she had no right to even think such things, because that's kind of making it kind of obvious that
right.
she was sort of thinking.
I would probably pick like
way.
one of those and make it less sensual and more comforty.
Right.
But still physical.
One thing I will say is that Jill said she labeled this as starting in quadrant.
I don't know, moving to quadrant D. She said.
Yeah, well, moving to quadrant where the main character. Crap.
Where's our quadrant?
Just a second. It starts in quadrant A, which is where neither of them are thinking that they're interested in each other, and it goes to, if I printed it out.
I read it. But I think it said D, but.
Oh! It's because it's not in this one. It's in my other one. Sorry, I have a lot of notes on this, and I'm sorry that. Okay, the scene ends in quadrant B, which is where the POV isn't really interested. Well, she's kind of more interested, the POV character. But I didn't think that it actually happened. There was no spark moment for me. So if you want us to be, and that was one thing that I addressed in here. I think I addressed it in here. I'll just read it. Keep in mind, it's not a scene that changes the quadrant. It's a magic moment. Okay? So you can't just have this scene and like it went pretty well. So now it's just assumed that the main character kind of likes the guy now. Like, no,
you have to actually tell us.
Yeah, we need to really see that. That needs to be emotionally like beated out.
And I think the realization would be the end of the scene.
Absolutely, we want to hit you
have a realization where she has a moment of realization, and then you just kind of go on for a while. It drains the power out of it, and you're not totally sure how.
Right. And by the way, if you're writing a scene where they like each other, and then they have the opposite of a magic moment. They have a lost moment where they realize there's some problem and there's some twist, and they've gone from being in quadrant D to now being where, in the quiet or whatever it is. Just keep in mind that the loss, I'm just going to read it. Losing your status with someone you value will always bring loss. You might cover it with like, manipulation, anger. You might say, I hate that person or whatever, but you will always feel lost. You're always covering it up. And I actually wrote this in here, but if you've ever had relationship counseling, it'll come in handy when you talk about like your characters misstepping with each other or miscommunicating. Because actually we don't tend to be like super mean to the people that we love. What we are is we're super dug in and we feel a sense of insecurity, and so we come out really strong. But it's always the insecurity, and I think as a writer, we need to be really aware of that. So anyway, kind of.
Well, and then insecurity is the thing that makes them seem not just uniformly jerky.
Exactly.
That vulnerability, you need to know what it is.
Especially if you're doing any kind of moonlighting thing, where it's like they're mean to each other, but they're totally into each other and whatever. Like, you have to see that they're basically on a basic level. They can't trust each other. They don't value seeing things. They're not secure. Otherwise, they don't think it can work. And they don't think it can work, but it means so much to them, and they're so attracted, and they're already so dug in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah. Otherwise, yeah. Okay. I'm going to skip a little bit here. Okay. Oh, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Okay. Amy's heart ached for him. If only she could do or say something to comfort him. Unfortunately, she knew she couldn't erase the pain she felt. Again, I felt that was telling. I put in some language that I felt would be more authentically what she had, but you can, I'm going to send this to you. And in fact, for those of you who are watching and you're not Jill, I'm going to put this, and I'm going to put my version with my notes into the handout so that you can see it. But we're not going to go over every single one of these. But again, I thought this was a little telling. After a moment, he continued, I want you to know when I offered to help you and Callie this morning, I never once suspected Callie was my daughter or suspected you to be a kidnapper. So Amy gasped as his words sank in. She took a step back, then another. Her mind raced. Again, saying her mind raced is not as good as like showing us. So I would just get rid of
Let us see the action that her mind is taking.
Yes, because
which is right below.
You got it right here.
Below,
She heard his mother's words again, and just Ben thinks it's her, and his aunt's choice of words. Callie is about the age his daughter Cassie would be now. She remembered the way the sheriff studied Callie's face. How could anyone think she was a kidnapper? This part right here Could someone take Callie away from her to try to prove she was his daughter? Again, I didn't think that was exactly how she would think it.
Right.
So I wanted that, and so I kept this whole part, but I put this into language that I thought might be more authentic, whatever. I also really like this. She no longer worried about what she'd do if she couldn't stay at the Young's house. She wanted to go rip Callie out of her bed for the second time in less than 24 hours and run as fast as she could. That is, that's a specific thought. I liked that. How could she leave town without a car? I did think that this was a little bit fast. I actually moved this entire thing to back down here because I thought, I was like, whoa.
That is quite a jump.
It's a big jump.
You need to walk us through
even with
faster.
even with a beat, it's fast. I mean, that is like your mind is like somebody casually mentions.
What that winds up feeling like is the author wants her to have that thought.
Right.
Now the author will put that, you know, it just doesn't feel like she's really getting it.
Right. And I actually took exception to this one. Heather, why don't you read this one?
Her hands started to shake and her vision blurred. She gasped for air, finding breathing difficult. She reached one hand out to the nearest pillar to steady herself and pulled at the collar of her shirt as if the action could help her breathe. I
thought it was too much. They're not taking her kid right now.
Well, also unless she has a panic disorder or something, but we haven't really seen that.
And not only that, and of course, Jill, here's where we're at. Is she not Callie's biological mom? Because it's a pretty simple matter.
Right, clearly Callie's adopted.
They could practically do
this is really his daughter.
Something.
That's what I'm thinking in this book. Callie is his daughter, and she adopted her.
It's totally sweet, but we need to have some reason why Callie is authentically, in other words, unless we already know, and even if we already know, we need to be reminded, why do her thoughts cause this reaction?
Right.
She kidnap
since
Callie?
I have to leave. Right.
Did she, maybe Callie's like the stepdaughter and they're leaving an abusive relationship and she's like, I can't prove
if she did kidnap Callie, I buy that reaction there.
Okay, yeah. Or it's like, but do you know what I'm saying?
I'm doubting she did.
Right, but what if she was like dating somebody and he was great and everything, but then she realized, hey, he's a total abuser, and she takes the kid.
Well, didn't she? Isn't this, because I read several snips that were for the same story, right?
I didn't read all the snips. You were awesome.
Okay, so
maybe you know more.
She leaves the jerk boyfriend to begin this whole journey, right? So
yeah, but was he the biological father of Callie? Who's the biological father of Callie? Who's the biological mother? That's the part I didn't know.
We don't know. We want
more information, Jill. Good job. That's the way it should
be. We care.
Yeah, there you go. And we have Ben explaining, don't worry, I don't really think that, you know, your daughter is my daughter. And then we explain more about what happened. My father insisted I take her with me to the sheriff's office, and more information about what was going on behind the scenes. I do like it when you clarify, when the main characters have gone through these scenes and the side characters are doing some stuff and we don't really understand what they're doing. And then finally a character says, step by step, this is all the things that happened, and now we understand why all those characters were doing and saying those things. And I do like that. I like it to be pretty much laid out. So I thought that was well done. The only thing that I did was just change, so you can see. How are we doing on time? We gotta hurry. I know it takes a long time to dig in point by point, but
that's why we write books for years.
I know. I know.
There, the golden blonde hair, that part.
No. Does Ben think it's her? Of course. Okay, this is what I did. So she remembers point by point all the things. She remembered the way the sheriff was studying Callie's face.
Oh, you're not screen sharing right now.
Oh, I'm not screen sharing right now. Sorry.
Okay. That's my job.
That's your job. So after she finds out that Ben says the word that she could be a kidnapper, and she thinks kidnapper, and then she hears again the mother's words about all these things, so she kind of puts two and two together. Of course, she was only buying time answering the way she was. Grief-stricken people could do anything, believe anything. Callie was or wasn't her biological mother. I'm not sure. But what was explanation in the face of need? This family needed a blonde 2-year-old. Callie was a blonde 2-year-old. See, so we're kind of giving you a little bit of time as a reader to sort of build to Ben stepped closer. She mimicked his actions in reverse. Relax, it's okay, he says. So she's saying that it's okay,
But she's not feeling that.
But she's not feeling it. But she says, and he's still explaining, no, like, here's why we did this, but we didn't think that. Amy started putting the pieces together. They go through the whole backstory that we sort of know, but we don't know in order, and we don't know the whys. Now we get it in order, and that's very that's really satisfying to the reader to get it. But now we get to, here we go. Now we get that stuff that you gave us that was really good. Amy no longer worried about what to do if she couldn't stay at the Young's house. She wanted to go and rip her out of the bed. Da, 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 da. I wanted to put in here too some sense of reality. Like, she wanted to run as fast as she could, no matter that crazed fathers in search of replacement daughters probably were a relative rarity. I mean, come on, like, it's not like this is a huge threat, really, but even in whatever the name of the town was. But holy crap, she'd met person after person here who were all friendly and nice. This is Jill's writing. Never once thinking that they might suspect her of being a kidnapper. Wasn't there a better way to find a missing kid than to randomly background check every kid passing through of the same age?
Okay, this is all Jill?
Oh, well, this part was me. Okay. This part was me. But see how it's like
but when she gets to the holy crap, she'd met person after person. That all feels so like it would actually run through her head. It's great.
Right. And Jill, you have it. You just have it, like, sometimes you have it after you've already stated it, so it feels redundant. And sometimes you have it too quickly after he says, I think you may have been a kidnapper, or my father thought you may have been a kidnapper.
And she just
we like jump way too fast to it. You know what I mean? Give her like a little bit. And then I put this in there too, again, because this is what I'm thinking as a reader. Like, seriously, they really go around suspecting every single 2-year-old who goes through that town as being the girl. Because, like, blonde 2-year-olds are not exactly like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I live in Utah. But, like, there are a lot of them. There are tons of them. I have, like, 2 right now. Just kidding. I don't have 2.
You don't have any?
I don't have any. I'm my youngest turned 5.
All of your people use the toilet. Anyways,
all of my people use the toilet. It's true, although Graham still can't. Yeah, I'm sure he's so excited that I'm saying this. But I don't know what the real story is. Wasn't there a better way to find a missing kid than randomly background check every kid passing through at the same age? But you can see that she believes that they might do it. Even though that's a kind of a jump, she believes that they might. And she can't have the police involved.
Because
how could
mystery.
Now we go to, but how could she leave town without a car? So now we have this jump that's totally believable, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Okay. So, should we keep going? I kind of want to. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to keep reading your words, Jill. I'm going to just read some of the things that Ben cleared us through. I don't think I even changed anything there. Let me just look really fast. Oh gosh, I'm never going to find it on my paper. Okay. I'm pretty sure that I didn't change any dialogue. Your dialogue was fine. Your dialogue was totally natural. So anyway, he explains that he's not really that suspicious. So finally we get, instead of saying, you said, her tension eased. I wanted you to just kind of show it a little bit. This isn't like great, but at least, so the tension in her back eased. And then here's where we have, and I spelled it wrong, of course, my style. Grief and pain would lead anyone to vigilance, read among. No one had called the police, and plus there was Ben. His jaw set, his gaze unfocused, unheeding the curls again blocking his vision, untouched and untouchable. He had still lost a daughter. Again, I'm trying to bring romantic tension.
And I think there it works.
Okay, and again, you can have your opinion as to too much, too little, whatever, not the right scene, but it's a way to do it. It's a beat where you can do it, and if you're looking for it, that's a good way to do it. Amy shifted, bringing her focus to, this is something that I do a lot.
I write XXX metaphor. So like
the metaphorical thing. So Jill, you want to have a metaphorical thing that represents her goal.
Right. So first she's looking at the thing in the environment.
Yes. So I gave her a backpack. I'm not sure if you really want her to be Dora the Explorer with a backpack, but you could.
Whatever.
She squeezes the straps of her backpack, feeling the sturdy cushioning. So the backpack is going to not be it's going to be a comfort item for her. It represents moving forward. It represents, so here we have all this tension about, is she going to be able to stay there? Now we finally know that she can stay there. We want to use the metaphorical thing to
give her security.
Give her security, to show her security, to show she is secure. She's got the backpack. She's got the sturdy cushioning. She feels the weight of it on her shoulder. It feels comfortable. She's settled. Right. She's ready to go on her journey. That every time I do that now,
they can't see it because we're not.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Okay, and then I put this in there. 3 more days. I have no idea. I just made up a time frame.
And you know what I would use as the metaphorical thing if I were doing it? I would probably like have them on a wraparound porch or something where she can touch the solid wood of the safe place where they are.
Oh, right.
Something about the safe place can feel protected. The trees around them can be shielding them from the wind.
You can have it be a floating metaphorical thing, so it's always something sturdy that she can hold on to, or you can have it be
or the backpack could be with her all the time, I guess.
You can have it be physical with her all the time, or it could be whatever.
Especially if the backpack contains the papers proving she's a kidnapper.
So for my girl in my story, it's her dead sister. Right. Is the metaphorical, you know?
Yeah, and that kind of depends too on whether you're just trying to use the metaphor right there in the moment, or whether you have like the objective correlative big metaphor that's going to span the whole
novel.
But
I think that you need one objective.
You do, but I wouldn't make it the backpack.
Maybe not, but
whatever. Unless it was the thing she clung to as she fled her.
Right. I guess maybe it would need to. Yeah, that's true. It would need to have some. It
like in my pregnant girl story, the objective correlative was her pregnant belly, was her changing body that got bigger and also became the ticking time bomb, but also was metaphorical for she's uncomfortable. She's
Okay.
Fit here.
I agree with that. So don't use the backpack, but whatever. So this explains though. So you have her saying these things that a good person would say to somebody. She's really like connecting with them, but you haven't shown us why. So right here, she's got her goal, and it gives her the security to then think a little bit more about Ben, not just in the moment as a reaction, but like, and good night. Ben had lost a freaking daughter. You know what I mean? Like, she's going to now be able to be, now that she's secure, she's going to reach out and say, hey, your family's concerned about you. It's, they love you. Even though they were suspecting me of being a kidnapper, like, ask water under the bridge, you know what I mean? Like, they probably thought, whatever. So this explains why she's being kind of, like, helping him out here. And he says, probably, it's my own fault, I guess. I shut them out. I shut everyone out. They didn't dare talk to me about it for fear of driving me away again. You have a whole thing about this. I just wanted you to say again. Amy didn't press. I felt like what you did before, Amy, not Amy, Jill. I do that all the time. I call people by their main character's name. Do you ever do that?
No. I'm really good at names. Just kidding.
Thanks a lot. Amy wasn't sure what he meant about them driving him away again, but she didn't feel like she could pressure him for an explanation.
Oh, right.
He had already dealt with a lot today. I felt like, and of course it's funny because we're constantly talking to you about beats, but here's the thing.
That was an extra beat.
But here's the thing. This is your freaking pivotal moment right here. She has a place to stay. She's done her metaphorical thing that represents her getting along with her goal. That's
now we
done.
Can get out.
That's done. We need to get out of this scene. The scene
as quickly
needs
as
to be wrapping. And so now up here, we have lots of emotional beat. Down here, we want to just get through it, okay? So again, Amy didn't press. If my staying here with Callie is a problem, I mean, if she's too much of a reminder of what you've lost, she couldn't breathe enough to continue because, of course, she's still anxious to even offer that. But she's a good person. No, he said, and then he tells her it's da-da-da. Anyway, you need more than just cash. He pressed a $50 bill into her surprised hand. Now, you have an entire page of him giving her a $50 bill. And since it doesn't have any emotional change, in my opinion, I was just like,
cut it.
Cut it. Just give her the $50 bill. And wouldn't acknowledge any of her protests. Just gently cradled the inside of her wrist with the pad of a thumb. This is totally first draft. Used to heavier work than she engaged in. That might be the lamest sentence, but whatever. They're gonna have some physical contact of some sort.
Yes.
With a nod that could have suggested a smile of encouragement, he motioned for them to head back inside. And then again, if you really want to go into quadrant B, then for the first time since she'd come outside with him, she inhaled the scent of roses, sweet, intoxicating, and heavy. Sensations Ben's presence only amplified as she entered his personal space, brushing his chest as she passed the door he held open for her. Like, that is like pretty much spelling it out. She kind of digs him. She thinks he's pretty sweet.
Right, and then we have that transition clear.
Yeah, and now, and we don't have a lot of tension there. We didn't have a push and a pull. But we had a very clear, she needs a place to stay, she gets a place to stay, and then we transferred right into, and she kind of likes this guy, and how's that going to go? And then we can go right into our next scene.
Right.
Although it's not a classic, you don't end with a disaster or a decision.
Well, so if we wanted to imply that her liking him is a
We
problem,
did change
you could
it
give me
for
one
her,
more
though.
line.
What line would we give?
Well, I don't know. But when you say the thing like, so she's feeling it, right? She's feeling it. And then could she even just have one line of like, she was still going to have to leave.
I don't know.
She couldn't connect. I don't know. That would
The
make it
fact that
disaster.
you're switching quadrants.
It's like, okay, so here's the thing.
It's not a disaster.
Disaster or decision is not the only thing. And it's funny. Jancy, who pointed it out to me at one point, she said it's revelation in a mystery is the same as disaster or decision if you end with revelation.
That's
and I
true,
think in
but
romance, revelation or transition from quadrant to quadrant
is
when she becomes aware of her interest.
Right.
For me, that's
I think I
that's
might
equivalent.
add that. We might add that.
Revelation, because she said forever she was trying to make it a disaster at the end of every scene, and finally she's like, I'm writing a mystery.
Oh yeah.
Piece of information is the same.
Well,
it's not have to be a decision or. Yeah, sometimes you just end with the.
What it is, let me tell you what it is. So it's in a suspense.
Writer.
I know, right? So in a suspense, you are. Okay, so in a suspense, you have a mystery is a way to think of a suspense, but you have all these suspects, right? And as you go through, and you have all these clues, but as you go through, but basically you want the story to progress. So you're crossing off, you're investigating, but you can't just investigate and this guy looks guilty and investigate and this girl looks guilty.
And then in the end, you just tell me who it is.
And at the end, you just tell me who it is. That's like the crappiest mystery ever. In order to give you a sense of progression, you have to get, the options have to be smaller and smaller and smaller. Right. So first you had
the revelation has to narrow your
options. Time. So first you had 5 suspects, then you only have 3 suspects, and then at the end, all 3 of those are cleared, and you're like, crap, I have no suspects. And then there's the huge reveal that so-and-so had a secret identity, and blah, 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 and it was nothing like what you thought, and whatever. So that's how the story progresses. So, and that's the same thing for a romance. First, you have all of these options. Ben's like this nice guy, but whatever. But eventually, he becomes so important to her that the only option really is for them to like get together in a realistic, like a long-term way.
They have to get together.
They have to get together. But that leaves them very few options. They have to figure out a way to work it out, or they're just going to be miserable. So it actually does.
And the more real and authentic that your tension pushing them apart is, the more that will feel
exactly
compelling.
Okay, I don't think that's what I want. This is the one I want.
Screen share.
I will screen share it.
But you want to look at our awesome faces.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it gets, it's old. It's just always look at. Now, we're going to go on to Brookie. I liked both of these, so I did too for you, Brooke. So, but I really liked it. So, okay. We don't need that. That's, okay, we finished. So Charlie, I'm going to give you, I didn't give you a lot of the, dang, I need to know all the names. Basically, what's the girl's name? Taryn. Basically, Taryn is on this show or whatever where she has to, like Bachelorette. Mm-hmm. She has to pick a guy, and she knows she's going to pick the guy whose name starts with B. Brett. Beryl. Probably not. Change his name to Beryl. But she really likes Charlie. So I'm just going to kind of cruise through this. We finished in Charles Drove. By the way, I really liked this book, and I felt like your beats were pretty good, and not a lot of changes. We finished in Charles Drove me to my house. The lights were all off, including the porch light, and I knew my mom wasn't home. Go figure. She was never home. We don't need that. Get rid of that. Go figure gives us her emotion, her exact wording, and it implies that her mom is never home. Charlie walks me up to the door, and one of Dean's cameramen follows us with a flashlight so we can still be on scene. Oh, yes, always on show. I like that, too. It's exactly in her words, and it shows us her emotion. It's the only beat there. I put the beats in yellow. Brooke just moved. Did you know Brooke just moved? No. That's why she didn't do all the beats. I told her, just hand it in without the beats. In the dark, no, right? In the dark porch, I could almost imagine there wasn't a camera there at all. I really like that, too. Mm-hmm. Again, it's exactly, it's not exactly what she's thinking.
Well, and why does it matter that she can imagine?
Right.
Very nice.
Yeah, so it's very like, I think she does good. In fact, I think her given name is Brookie, so we should probably. Okay. But anyway, we're gonna call you B. I'm sure that. Hey B. I'm sure she's gonna love that. In the dark of the porch, I just really like that. It gives us her emotion. It gives us a sense of what she's hoping for.
We're hoping for it too.
Definitely. Charlie seems like a total hottie. Taryn grabs his hand. I look at his face, his angled features. Yeah. Again with the thoughts, just totally nailing it. I could feel it in the air. I knew he wanted to kiss me, and I wanted to kiss him, but not on camera. I wanted it to be a special, private moment. This is the only moment. But if whatever moment we were sharing right now would pop and leave after I walked into the house. And then he continues, I want you to know you can talk to me about your dad and stuff. He reaches up and tucks his straight hair behind my ear. The trail of his fingers along my cheekbones. His fingers lingered on my neck. I closed my eyes and tried not to move is her first decision, really. So she, instead of like moving forward or away from him, she just closes her eyes and goes a little numb, which I thought was a little interesting.
It is, but I also think it's believable given that she really wants this moment, but she doesn't want it on camera, and she knows it on camera.
Right. Also, she's kind of stuck because she wants the moment, but she kind of can't pick. She's kind of leading him on. And I think that's been established in the story, and she establishes it later. Here's my only beef with it. The girl freaking never opens her eyes again.
Oh, no! She's blind forever.
Well, also, to me, he doesn't quite react right. If I'm going like this, here, we're gonna.
Oh, Nikki! Oh my gosh, we're having a romantic scene.
We're gonna have a romantic scene. If I'm doing this and you freaking close your eyes, I'm not gonna say. You don't have to laugh it off.
Right? She isn't laughing.
I care to know.
I
care to know is a little like I don't know if you would
actually say that.
I want to be there for you. He moved his hand from my face and slid to my arm and grabbed my other hand. I'm like, now her eyes are freaking closed. I'm sorry, but at that point,
we're having lightning storms. Plus, once she does the next motion, I kind of want another beat, right? And you do give it to me.
It's fine. Just don't have her close her eyes. Just don't like have her be like. I tried not to
she closes her eyes and tries not to move because she's waiting for the kiss. And then if he starts talking again, she has to have a beat where she's like, what the crap?
Like, why are you freaking kissing me?
And I wanted something and I thought I was going to let you, but then, okay, we're talking now about things.
What I would do personally, my personal, would just be, I tried not to move, like I froze or whatever. Also, or maybe I smiled to kind of like,
yeah, she doesn't laugh it off. There's nothing to motivate him.
Otherwise, you can't have him saying, maybe she laughed earlier. I don't know what this is in reference to, but whatever. Just tighten that up. So clarity now. This is something that you say, no one had ever spoken to me that way. No one, not even my mom, had ever cared about me the way I felt about things. Megan was the only one I could complain to. And I'm like, well, Megan is a person, not quite no one. I know that's super picky. But I would change it to few people had ever spoken to me that way. Mm-hmm. My mom had never cared about the way I felt. Megan was the only one I could complain to, just, for clarity. And then I love this, like, boom, she just full on kisses them. I freaking love it. And she doesn't even say anything. I actually kind of like it. You don't always have to have anything.
I don't need her to say anything.
I love it.
But
do you think you need more?
I need like one more line before her fart felt full. I just said her fart felt full. That would have been a different scene. Her heart felt, and my full heart exploded. Oh, I kind of like that too.
I do.
But I just almost need the decision. She's about to kiss him. I just,
okay.
People I'm counting the thing. And
I know the light flashes every time you count the thing, which you can't see. Again, you cannot.
But clearly, I care about the scene. I'm counting my desk right now.
So Brookie. You're going to have different reactions. I personally loved it. She reaches up and kisses him. It kind of shows, first he's kind of really coming onto her and she's just numb, waiting. And then she just kisses him. And like, I kind of think kind of shows her personality, especially if she's kind of abrupt like that. If she's not abrupt like that, then maybe you don't have her do that. But let's go back to a screen share just really fast. And let's show you.
Okay, the full heart doesn't explode till he freaking kisses her back. Just saying. She reaches up and kisses him. And I need, like, he's astonished for a moment. I need a beat from him where she says, like, he froze, astonished or something. Like, I don't think, and then he just goes for it. That's when her full heart explodes.
Right. What if he just,
because this next paragraph is like, all the things.
The only thing, my skin melted off. I'm thinking,
that is a little zombie flesh.
It's just a little bit. It's a little bit. My skin melted is what I would do because it melted off to me suggests
it's extra flaking and grossness.
And my soul reached out for another. I thought that could be expanded on. So I put my skin melted, then ignited. This wasn't body reaching for body only. My soul stretched the space to fill the space. Stretched to fill the space between us, expanding as it went, becoming whole, complete, grander, and more capable of love and pain than I thought I could ever bear. And I wanted to keep Charlie forever. Whatever.
Okay, so that was your writing. So yeah, if the full heart's exploding and if we're going that deep in, I really need even more than he didn't pull back. Come on, friend. We're getting a little touchy feely here. I want him going for it. Not just he didn't pull back.
Wait. Okay, so do you want like lips and skin, or do you want
When I
Do you want a metaphor here?
Nope.
Okay, wait.
When I reach up and grab, and I'm not a romance reader, so just take this with a grain of salt. But I sometimes I read everything for romance, right? So when she reaches up to kiss him, that is like a bold move. That is like a, and she does it. Then I need his reaction, and then I need him coming at her.
Right.
I need him to meet her all the way, and that's when your heart's electric.
You know what I want to do? What I would want to do too, especially since you're talking about soul to soul and stuff. Instead of saying like he didn't pull back, I would have her. He did pull back. He looked her in the eyes. There's something about
and then
eyes.
He goes in.
Right.
Yes.
He makes sure that she knows that
what she's doing
important to him.
Yeah.
This is a connection with them.
Because this feels like a really big moment.
Yeah, and then
I need him acting.
That's
because
true.
I don't want to kiss like mummies. What are they? Not mummies. Dummies.
I think that is not where
I don't want to kiss mummies either.
I'm like, are we in England right now? Because I really don't want to kiss mummies.
I don't want to kiss the one who's just like, mwah. Do you know what I mean? My heart does not explode.
No, you don't want this.
Show me he reacted.
You don't want this whole soul stretching to fill the space between us and whatever. And because of physical attraction, you want to make sure that you establish and that he is initiating and that he is pulling her toward him in that moment. Not just in a physical attraction kind of a way, but in this soul to soul. So I would say eye to eye is what eye to eye and maybe hand to hand, palm to palm kind of a thing.
Here's the other thing. So if we read right below, she says, I let go of his face and started to step away. So what if we don't get to the full heart exploding till here? So instead, it's like I reached up and kissed him. He didn't pull back. I let go of his face and started to step away, but he grabbed onto the back of my shirt and held me close. He slowed the kiss to soft touches against my lips. This is what I needed before
I see.
her full heart exploded.
So we could take this. And we could do.
And then she's holding on to him, so she won't collapse and heap on the ground. And then,
And then I kind of got a little redundant because of.
Oh, extra redundant because you just kind of.
I know, right? I know. But then I added this because I was just kind of flowing, Brookie. But then you had this, and it was very similar.
Yep.
So you can just kind of, I think, maybe work what you had into this paragraph. Delete what I have. But
here we go. We are missing the actual separation. I want.
This is clarity. Yes. But let's go into clarity for just a second. Let's go back here. So we've got. By the way, this right here. Okay, undo. The motivation to stop is missing. What? I would actually not have her do that. Here.
Wait, if she's pulling away though. I would have no problem if she pulls away before the full hearts are exploding.
Oh, I see.
She goes in for the kiss, and then she pulls back because she's like, what the crap did I just do?
Okay, if she's just had this heart exploding moment and then she lets go of his face and starts to step away,
that's weird.
Then that's weird, unless you explain why. Okay, but I actually really like that too. I reached up and kissed him, especially if it's like this little simple, she's like impulsively kissed him, but then let's go.
Before she lets go, you have to give me a beat. The motivation to stop still needs to be there.
Blushing or whatever.
Oh gosh,
whatever.
Maybe glance around for the camera.
Right,
whatever it is.
Right, blushing on the corner of his face. Started to step away, but he grabbed I really like all of that. I wanted to keep Charlie forever. I'm not sure how long we stood there. See, then this is a huge beat now, and it's all one beat.
Yeah.
And I like that.
And we want it.
I like that.
Woke us up.
I actually really do like that. I'm glad. Okay, but now we have at home, I floated into my room. I'm like, what? That is not acceptable for me as a reader. Here they are. They're kissing. It's perfect. It's wonderful. They're freaking on camera. They like the feeling. It's all perfect, blah, 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 blah. And then, boom, we just scene change to home.
Dude, you know what I want for the motivation?
What do you want?
I want him to have someone in his ear telling him, hold that, when she hears it. That would be amazing! If he's got a freaking radio and then the whole thing feels fake. Can you imagine the disaster at the end of that scene?
So disastrous. That changes it completely because the real disaster is that she has to like Brett. She has to pick Brett.
Well, but she maybe doesn't have to.
It could be a double disaster.
She maybe doesn't have to pick Brett. Maybe he meant the kiss, but now she thinks he didn't.
Oh my gosh, that could be epic. I actually really like that. But whatever it is that it separates them, Brookie, even if you don't want to do that one, we do need to have, even if it's just as simple as they realize they're on camera, it's like a little awkward, she wants to go inside, she's feeling shy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But, maybe the camera could beep at them, or I don't know. At home, I floated into my room, oblivious of everything around me. The only thing that brought me back to reality was a text from Brett. Brett, hope that 2-1 wasn't so awful. See you tomorrow. Brett. I fell into my bed with an exasperated sigh. I felt like guilty might be more appropriate there. I needed Brett to win. Charlie couldn't win, and here I was leading him on. I didn't even like to date. I had refused to date through my whole high school experience, and here I was throwing out that strategy again for clarity, because you had it, and here I was throwing it out the door on a whim, and I was like throwing it out, like throwing out your whole high school experience out, throwing out, like I couldn't quite catch it, you know. But then you say, not on a whim, for a boy with golden blonde hair and a soul that spoke to mine on a level I never knew existed. I really like all of this, but here we have nearly all the beats. And this little section right here is the sequel to this scene. This scene, in order to end appropriately, needs either some progression on the romance, which it does, and or a disaster, which it doesn't have, but it could if you wanted it to. But it does have a very clear progression on the romance. So I'm going to give it a full mark on that. Here's your sequel. This is where you think about the
disaster scene. Can even just be when she thinks Brett.
Right.
That can be the motivation for separating.
Right. But here's the thing. We have in this sequel, we have her emotion. We have her thoughts. We have her analysis, but we do not have the decision. And the decision is what needs to end this scene. So, what is not on a whim, for a boy with golden blonde hair and a soul that spoke to mine on a level I never knew existed. What on earth was I going to do? Even if you don't have her make a decision,
right? She has to acknowledge the dilemma.
Saying it strengthens it, in my opinion.
Right.
Oh my gosh, we're going so long. It's already 9:14 again.
Ugh, we need to shut up.
We do. Should we even do Brookie's other one, or should we just?
Maybe we should call it for tonight.
We will, but I'm going to tell you my thoughts. Brookie, I'll put this up there for you. I'll put it up for everyone. But my thought with your first one is I wanted you to end on a decision, and I wanted you to have more clarity. And with your next one, you basically have, this is a totally different story. You have two people here. They are
Taryn and Charlie.
Taryn and Charlie. Taryn and Charlie are hanging out.
It's the same story. It's the same story.
I'm such an idiot. I read a lot. Fine. Okay, just you have to.
You probably read them.
Wait a minute. No. Oh, because this is the
They're on a
POV.
date.
I'm such an idiot. Okay. They're on a date. This is Charlie's point of view. But here's the thing. I didn't think that the story progressed enough in this scene. Because basically at the beginning, he kind of likes her and he's kind of nervous around her. And at the end, he kind of likes her and he's kind of nervous about her. And I didn't think it progressed. It didn't end in a disaster or a decision or a progression in either stakes or romance.
I have a question on the dual POV personally.
Yeah. We
know for sure then who the love interest is going to be, right? If you have two characters and it's Taryn and Charlie, but you want me to think it might be Brett.
No, I think she just wants you to think she has. I don't think she has to pick Brett because she likes him. I think she has to pick Brett because of some ulterior motive.
Okay.
Like maybe he's going to pay her off.
Right.
Whatever.
Okay.
You know, some kind of whatever. Yeah. No. I agree with you on that, though. And again, I felt like your thoughts here were too telly. She looked at me so confidently, I did want to try again. I wrote that all into my own thoughts. I mean, into what I thought his real thoughts would be. And I did that, and I did that, and I did that. But then when we get to the end, I just, even though he accomplishes the goal of climbing the rope, I didn't feel like, did you know what I'm saying? It read like a boring scene because nothing changed. So you need to decide, like, is this the moment where Charlie's like, this is the one, or
is this his all-in moment?
Is this his all-in moment? Is this her all-in moment? Is there a disaster?
Especially with the word always at the end, it feels like they're both just happily in it.
Right. I pulled her in a hug, used her weight against me to ground my breathing back to normal. Thank you. I whispered against her hair. This is the very end. She hugged me tighter always. And you're like,
I'm like, oh, they're together forever.
Okay. Like, we're done. Like, the story ended the page before, and we're on the epilogue.
Right, you know, a little bit.
I mean? So that's what I wanted, was just more. And then I put places. I will screen share one more time. I wanted right.
Oh,
never mind. I wanted right here. Right here. I looked up in the back of her. I'd made it this far. I could keep going with her and out in my head. Let's keep going. But that's exactly what happened at the beginning. So we think, I mean, literally, like, you could practically quote you back here. It's like exactly the same words. So we need stakes to up or the story to progress. And maybe he could like trust her emotionally at first and then actually trust her physically here. So like there's a little bit of a twist on what the trust is. Maybe
well, I feel like her helping
him
him to do that difficult thing would build that trust for sure, that emotional
but only
trust,
if there wasn't trust to begin with.
Right.
So do we,
and that is what I was feeling in the beginning, was when he was climbing those, the thing, he kept being like, I'm shaky, I'm going up. But there was never any stakes for me there, in the sense that he's thinking, she's going to think I'm an idiot. She won't choose me because she won't, you know, I didn't know what he was thinking about, how it related to her at all. It was more like, oh, I have to do this hard thing.
Right.
And it felt almost more like a scene about a guy who really needs to learn to rock climb.
Right.
But I don't think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's true. And so there needs to be a very clear changing. And I guess in this case, it's a success again, where there's a very clear, I'm going to lose her because I'm going to look like an idiot. And then, no, she's going to trust me. And then it has to be a very clear relief. And then there has to be a clear emotional beat about what that means to him. Mm-hmm. Does that get him one step closer to conveying? Does that get him all the way to commitment?
And why is it that this is such a thing? Like, does he think Brett has what he doesn't? Brett's hard and rugged and he's kind of bookish? Or, I mean, I don't know.
Exactly. Or would Taryn only ever be able to see herself with someone who can rock climb?
Right.
Or
she's super hardcore.
Yeah, just like what's going on. So we just needed a little bit more of that. And then we needed the magic moment. This is what the whole scene's about. So we need the moment where it's like, oh, she likes me. I actually would kind of like to see him fail a little bit. I mean, you almost have him rock climb too easily. He climbs up halfway. They're like, okay, should we keep going? Yeah, because it's super easy. We climb up all the way. We did it. Yay. Like, it's almost, like, can you have him fall halfway?
Yeah.
Can you have him, like, you know, like.
Or, like, oh my gosh, twist his ankle or something, and she has to be like, it's okay. Like, let's go to the hospital together or something. I mean, not that you have to do that, but, like, my husband was going to propose at the summit of the freaking mountain in his favorite place in the world, right? We stop. Okay, here's the summit. This is where he's proposing. We stop right here. We have to walk along these knuckles in the snow and then around up to here to get to the thing. I'm here.
I remember this.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. And he goes, okay, come on. I know he's going to propose right here at the summit of his favorite place. And he's like, I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, I start crying. He turns around. He walks back across the snow to me. He puts his arms around me. He goes, I will now propose to you almost at the highest place. In my favorite place. I couldn't do this. I would have died. We would have slipped to our cliff death.
Oh,
and it was terrifying, right? But he comes back to me, and it's his whole life. I knew where he would propose from, like, day 2, you know? I knew it would be at the summit of his favorite place on earth. I'd already hiked it with him.
It just happened to be
December 21st in the snow, right? And he comes back, and he had written his proposal, and he literally is like, at almost the highest place. Like, he changes the words of the proposal, right? Now, I am not saying that this has to be that important of a scene, but right? This moment when he comes back to me and says, you are enough for me. I don't need what I imagined, right?
Right.
So what if that's happening?
Oh,
that's all is what I'm saying.
That's so cute.
My love story's epic. I'm going to write it.
You totally did. Yeah, so we needed either more tension there or more of a moment at the end where they both kind of are feeling it. You could even have, if he has to trust her so much at the beginning, you could flip it halfway through where she has to trust him somehow. So,
and maybe where she has the respect for what he tried to do for her, even though she knows, I would love if they switched POVs halfway through, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm killing this poor guy. Like, I'm destroying him.
He's really trying. This is like, yeah.
Like, I pushed it far enough.
I almost feel like there has to be, it can't be a success in terms of he learns to rock climb and a success in terms of they emotionally connect. I think that's like too easy.
Agreed.
So I don't know. I would probably pick one of the
I would love it if he was klutzy and fell to his, like, ankle twisting, which probably wouldn't work for your
fell to his ankle twisting.
I was going to say death, but that sounded...
Fell to his ankle twisting fate. Okay. That's all we have for you. We hope that you enjoyed that. I don't have anything else.
Write good romance.
Write good romance. Turn in more homework. If you have more homework, we'll take anything up through August 1st.
Cool.
Sweetness. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, you guys.